Hi, welcome.
Hi,
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
Sir,
Originally, if you are from the Punjab?
yes, from Lahore.
Lahore?
Yes.
Right. From walled city or from the outer Lahore?
In Kent, cantonment.
So that means you must have migrated from East Punjab and settled there. Could have been, I mean, not must.
No, sir.
No? You are originally Lahori
I'm originally.
or from some other district?
No, I belong to NWFP.
NWFP?
Yes.
So that's what I understand. The Lahoris, true Lahoris are those who are born in the walled city.
Yeah.
And their style is very specific and
Typical.
recognizable. Others are either immigrants or coming from different provinces and places. Right,
Yes.
okay. Thank you. Please.
Sir, my question relates to the same subject as discussed earlier about the ascension of Jesus Christ, how real it is.
The features or similarities, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
How we can present some similarities between the Messiah we believe in as the re-advent of Jesus and the first Jesus whose image he claims to be, correct?
Yes.
Right. So it's a long list. All of you have to be patient with me, but I won't exhaust it. I'll just present to you a few cases by way of demonstration. You are a Muslim, of course. You should also bear in mind that the Holy Quran speaks of a similarity between Moses and Muhammad Rasulullah Sallam as well. Does it not? And so there is a prophecy of Hazrat Moses himself in Deuteronomy chapter 22, isn't it? 18, chapter 18, verse 18. Chapter 18, verse 18. That a prophet would be raised from among your brethren, like unto you. That's these similar words. So what are the similarities between Moses and Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallam? First of all, that question has to be answered. Second, Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallam was prophesied in the New Testament as well by Jesus Christ. And there his description is different from that of Moses. So that means a Messiah was also to be born in Islam. And that is why Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallam repeatedly prophesied that in my ummah also, in the latter days, in the end days, a Messiah will be born. So relating both these issues, you will come to a better understanding of similarities. The similarity between Moses and Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallam, first of all, was that both brought a new law and a fiery law, a sort of with glory and majesty. And that law got enforced with complete success within their lifetimes. And they did not leave the world until they had seen the law established and enforced. Secondly, this requires a rapid movement which was also related with the use of force and sword whenever sword was raised against them. Both Moses was permitted and Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallam, and peace be upon Moses as well. So this is another similarity which we see. And after that, the enforcement of law takes place many centuries. The real, in not only enforcement of law, I mean, talking from the political point of view, I don't mean that, but sinking of the law into the people and their habits takes a very long time. And in the first beginning of the Islamic movement, it began to spread, not by sword, as people believe, but by the deliverance of message and the deliverance of the Quranic values as practiced by the Muslims of the time. This is important for me to emphasize because there are many non-Muslims present here who misunderstand the spread of Islam to have depended upon the use of sword. You see, the largest population of the Muslims are found in Indonesia, in Malaysia, in 4 provinces of China. And the history tells us that not a single battle was fought for the sake of Islam in all these countries. Yet it spread. And it spread faster and wider. Where the Muslims ruled for many centuries continuously in India, the progress of Islam was much slower, and with obstruction here and there, it spread, but it remained to be a minority for the last 1,000 or more years. So that is what should be kept in mind. So the first message was given a push off with a great impetus and a great force until it reached its climax in having delivered the message of Islam and having established it to all the important known countries of the world of that time, except a portion which is called the West. There it only stuck at the walls and knocked at the walls and made an entry and quickly withdrew, but didn't leave a lasting impression on the people, except for a few exceptions like Bosnia and things. Now I come to the period which had to follow. During this course, politics began to be intermingled with Islamic ideology when the spread of Islam also resulted in Muslim states. They came to be born. And whenever state interplays with religious hierarchy, havoc is played both to the politics and to religion. That is exactly what happened during the medieval centuries. And they distorted the image of Islam to that of a national movement, of a racial movement, of a territorial movement. So the term holy war or jihad came to be misunderstood as a movement of subjugation of all the people of the world, politically and ideologically, with the help of your thumb on the throats. Now, how they understand it to have happened, I can't understand. It's impossible for the soul to change the ideas, beliefs. They can sever the heads from the body, but they cannot change a single belief of the head of the mind within the head. They can create reactions, of course. Subjugation only takes place when something within the people, such people who are coerced, something of life and honor within them have already died. When they are neither fit as Christians or as Muslims or anything else, as long as that honor lives, they will not bow to sword. So the sword seems to be successful in some phases of history, but to no purpose. Names were changed, styles were changed, but the hearts remained as atheistical, as atheist-minded, and attitudes were as corrupt as they used to be before. So leaving that aside, now I turn to the last recipe for such a situation. When the hearts are hardened, when the message is understood to be that of a forceful change in the ideology of the world and the forceful imposition of the Muslim states upon the non-Muslim states. Is that not exactly the attitude found in the time of Jesus Christ among the Jews? This was the fight about. This was all the difference between the Christians, between Christ and the Jews. You know, they demanded that we were expecting a Christ, but a Christ with a throne under him and a crown over his head. A Christ would leave the movement of rebellion against the Roman yoke. And you have come to perpetuate our slavery? And this is what you call the spirit of Christ? We reject it. It's meaningless. But Christ said, all right, go ahead what you do, but you will suffer. And that's what they did. They went on making rebellions, fighting others in the name of religion, and they were thoroughly demolished and defeated by a general of the Romans in 71 or 72 after Christ. But Christianity, which did not have any sword in its hand, went on flourishing and spreading despite all opposition. Here the sword was taken from the hands of the believers and handed over entirely to the hands of the oppressors and rejectors. Yet it spread. So it was Jesus Christ and his movement which gave a measure of honor to the early success of Judaism. If Jesus had not appeared, then all were justified in concluding that the message of Moses and the teachings of Torah has no inherent beauty in it. It is only when it ran along with force and coercion that it acquired a measure of success. Otherwise, in itself, it's mere ugliness. But what Jesus did was a revolution in this area, brought about a revolution. He said, all right, I stick to the same values. You take the sword in your hand. You try to destroy me and my followers and crush them. Do whatever you may. We are going to emerge victorious. It was this belief of Jesus in truth itself which brought about the great revolution in the ideologies and the attitudes of the people around. So first of all, Hazrat Mirza Sahib should be understood in this context. Is it not exactly the same battle which began between him and the Orthodox Muslims? They wanted a liberator from the British yoke who would raise sword against them and lead them to victory. No such Messiah came to them. And said, all right, we do not believe in a slave Messiah. That is how he was ridiculed even by Iqbal. He said, we do not believe in those who are slaves to be honored as prophets of Allah. Those who live under a foreign yoke, they are not worthy of acceptance as the messengers of God. This is exactly the allegations against Jesus Christ, which was leveled by the Jews. Now, Iqbal, I don't know why he chose to forget the status of Joseph, son of Jacob, who he believed to be a prophet of God, but he lived all his life under a foreign yoke. He accepted a high office under a king who did not believe in him. So to live under a foreign yoke does not result in giving right to the people to reject such a man. So Iqbal should have started his journey with Joseph first, then he should have come to Jesus Christ himself and said, there goes another claimant, a slave prophet. Unless Masih Maud had that something in common with Jesus, he could not have been taken as seriously as a true image of Jesus and repetition of Jesus' message. But that's not all. What happened then, from then on, Jesus and his followers were put through the mill of persecution so severely and so cruelly, and they were declared to be outside the pale of Judaism. They were declared to have no right to live unless they defiled the teachings of Christ and the image of Christ, or unless they abused him and cursed him. The history is full of such events. And it is being repeated here now in Pakistan, from where you have come. They catch hold of Ahmadis, poor Ahmadis, and say, abuse Mirza Ghulam Ahmad or we will not leave you alone. Or either sometimes they are killed because they refuse to abuse, or they are beaten up and left as pulp. Sometimes imprisoned under false allegations that we have done it because such a man was insulting Na'uz Billah min Zalik Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. A man who is so honorable, as offers every sacrifice but does not succumb to the pressure of the sword or force, how could he tell falsehood, who speak falsehood, utter falsehood? He's honest and true. Otherwise, he will not offer sacrifices for the sake of his own beliefs. So when he says, I love Muhammad Rasulullah, I believe in him, I know that Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian received all honors from him, and he was his ultimate master. They have no right to reject this belief. But it goes on. So this is, again, a repetition of the early history. The attitudes were changed, and the people of followers of Jesus Christ were persecuted for their noble attitudes, not for crimes. This is exactly being repeated in case of the followers of Hazrat Mirza Sahib. They are not beaten up for stealing. They are not beaten up for usurping others' rights. They are not beaten up for appearing in the court for false witnessing, etc., etc. They are not beaten up for drugs. They are beaten up for, and in Northwest Province, I'm telling you, they are beaten up and prosecuted, and condemned to serve imprisonment for 3 years to begin with, then it was reduced to 1 year. You know for what crime? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim was discovered from the house of this man as police raided his house for illicit things. The first report of the police, which was taken seriously and accepted by the judge, was that the crime of this man was that when we raided his house and searched him and his possessions, we discovered Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, which means in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, oft repeating his mercy. So if such are the crimes of Ahmadis today, go back to the time of Jesus, similar were the crimes of the people there. They didn't rob anybody. They didn't kill anybody. They didn't usurp anybody's rights. They didn't indulge in child abuse or abduction and asking for money and blackmailing and all this. All this is left to the lot of the mullahs in Pakistan and their followers. They appropriate these rights. But Ahmadis, they are not given the right to declare La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. For that, the death penalties are hanging over their heads today. Is it not like the movement of Jesus Christ? But that is not enough. Many a time, a minority is persecuted and destroyed if God is not at the back. But it did not happen in case of Jesus Christ and his followers. They tried to pulverize Christianity to smithereen, to smallest pieces. But every time they passed out of the mill of persecution, they were larger and bigger and stronger. Is that not what is happening to Ahmadiyyat? So what other signs you require? And then the time measure. The difference between Moses and Jesus is 1300 years. The difference between Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah and Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian claimant to Messiahhood is 1300 years. Jesus did not bring a new law. He claimed that he has not come to change a single jot of the Quranic teaching or the word of Muhammad Rasulullah. So are there not similarities enough for one to seriously contemplate the possibility of becoming an Ahmadi? Thank you.